Shalom. I am Nama Rue. This is my husband, David Rue, and this is the first video of a series about
stories related to Parshas Shavua, New Year, New Beginnings. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, based upon a pasuk in our week's Parsha, Vibra Elokim et Adam, that God created man, says that anyone who saves a single life of a Jew is if he had saved the entire world. There are many, many things that are said about this, but I want to say one relatively brief story. The Rabbi Yisrael, the Maggid of Koznitz, was very famous, as almost all Hasidic rabbis were, for his brachos. And a poor couple that didn't have any children went to him, traveled to Koznitz to get a bracha, and they received a bracha that they would have a child, and in due course the child is born. And after several months, the child becomes very ill. And the wife is very concerned, and she of course can't travel now. She has to take care of the baby, but she sends her husband back to Koznitz. And her husband goes back to the Maggid and tells the story of the sick child. And the Maggid says, "Don't worry, the child will be fine." He returns, gives the news to the child. The child is to his wife. The child is still very sick. His wife's up all day long, all night long, by the cradle, feeding whatever she can to the child and so on. And at some point, she falls asleep. And when she wakes up, she's very startled because there's a soldier standing by. This is Tsarist Russia. Tsarist soldier standing by the crib, feeding something to the baby. She screams, and the soldier runs away. Immediately, the baby gets better, and the woman is very concerned. What's the nature of this? And she sends her husband back to the Maggid of Koznitz, and the Maggid says, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." Okay. As soon as the man leaves, the Maggid of Koznitz tells his shamash, "Take my staff, take my cane, and go to the cemetery and bang on a particular grave," telling him the person's name, the grave, where it is, "and tell him, who made you a doctor for children?" So, the Rebbe, a shamash of any Hasidic Rebbe, of course, he does whatever the Rebbe tells him to do. And he goes, he bangs on the grave with the Rebbe's staff and says, "Who made you?" The Rebbe said to ask, "Who made you a doctor for children?" A short while later, a soldier appears in the Maggid's study, and the Maggid asks him directly, "Who made you a children's doctor?" And the soldier says, "I was a cantonist." What the cantonists is the evil czars, Yimach Shemam v'Zichram. May their names and memories be erased. Had this idea to get rid of the Jews by drafting Jewish men, boys really, at 8 years old, depending on the time, keeping them in the army for 20 or 30 years. These children were treated very, very roughly.
When was this?
In the 1800s. And most of them died. Some of them remained soldiers in the Tsar's army for a long time. They knew almost nothing about Yiddishkeit, about how to be Jews. They knew they were Jews. So this soldier says, "I became like all the soldiers around me." And one time, as the chevra of us were together, we found a Jew who was going home. And the other soldiers grabbed him, and they found that he had 75 rubles, a very significant amount of money on him. He's obviously a businessman of some kind. They took it from him, but they were afraid he would tell, and they might get in trouble. Not likely, but they might get in trouble. So they decided to hang him. And this was just too much for this person. And so as soon as his friends left, he left with them and immediately went back. And with his knife, cut this poor Jew down. And he happened to have 75 rubles of his own, which he gave to the poor Jew. And he goes off on his way. The soldiers got back to base, and at roll call, the soldiers said, I wasn't there. And our commanding officer wanted to know what was in. They went out. They were sent out to look for me, and they found me at the same place. And they figured out immediately what had happened, and they were afraid that I would tell, someone would tell. So they decided to hang me in that place, and they told the commanding officer that's how they found me, hung in this place. And so the soldier said, I died, and I found myself in the Beis Din Shamala in the heavenly court. But I deserved some Gan Eden, but I'd sinned so much with these soldiers in so many different ways that
I deserved some Gan Eden. I deserved some
reward
in the future, in the world to come.
But because I'd been sinning all my life, it was difficult to decide. I'd saved a Jew's life, so I'd saved the whole world. On the other hand, I had sinned, so I had to be sent down. And so I asked permission to come back to this world and be a children's doctor, so I could save the lives of little children whenever the situation was desperate. And by staying in this world doing that, that would be my atonement for the evil that I had done previously. One of the Hasidim that regularly told the story would say at the end, we may be an expert. We may know how to evaluate the value of gold and silver and real estate and houses and gems. But to figure out the value of a Jew is something that is beyond our ability to do.
So this was in relation to Bereshit, the first Parsha of the Torah. Do you want to tell us a little bit, like you're saying, the association is that,
as I said in the very beginning, the Parsha it says, Vivra Elokim es Adam, that God created man. And there is only one man in the beginning. And so the Gemara in Sanhedrin says that God created only one man to begin with, to show that anyone that saves the life of a single Jew is as if he had saved the life of the entire world.
Thank you.
So this person was capable of redeeming their entire life by saving that one person at the end, that one helpless person at the end, and able to achieve something, achieve a way of helping people in the future.
And then the next video we do will be the next Parsha.
Parshas Noach.
And a story that relates to something in the Parsha.
We'll try. If not, we'll say something else.